Back up fast. I'm going that way.
Turn the boat to try to keep the net from going to the propeller. It's a little different sometimes.
What you think's gonna be in the net? What you think?
Lots of catfish.
Some catfish? Back up from Mr. Jimmy. Oh! There it is, Jack. As you can see, we're not fishing with a rod and reel today. We're fishing with hoop nets. We're on a commercial catfishing trip with my buddy Jimmy Hickman. Got Jack with me, and we got Billy Joe and Daniel. Man, it is gonna be one heck of a day. Hopefully we're gonna teach you some of the cooler things about commercial catfishing and why this is a sustainable resource where we are here in South Louisiana. You know, there's a demand on the market for these fish, and a guy like Captain Jimmy has got them figured out. These nets are amazing, and it's really an art form to how they put them out, how they use the nets, how they bait them, and we're gonna show you everything from the top to the bottom. That was the first net. How many we got today?
We've got, I think, 12 to raise.
We've got 12 nets total, so 11 more to go. I know Jack's getting a big kick out of this. Let's go check it out.
Initially, whenever you put a new net in a new area, you're normally going to catch the largest catfish that are in that area. I've noticed that everywhere we go, regardless of whether or not it was a river, a marsh, or whatever. It looks like initially, when you drop it down, you're going to catch the biggest in that area.
Dang, dude, you ever seen that many fish before?
No.
And how long was that net out for?
So we ran that net on Tuesday, and here it is on Monday. So it's been down 6 days.
Gotcha.
All the bait was gone, just a little bit of bait left in the bait bag. So if you look at the fish, we like to leave them in there for at least an extra day or so after they get done eating the bait. That way they can go ahead and process that bait. And because you don't want to come and raise the nets and they have a bloated belly with all the bait in there and stuff like that. It just makes it easier to clean, easier on everyone handling the fish.
All right, so this is a baited net here. That's mostly pogies. Is there anything else in there other than pogies?
Sir?
Is there anything else in it other than pogies?
Just pogies.
All right, so all pogies in this net. You got some loose in the net, and you also have a little sack in there. What's the sack for?
It's a bait bag. It keeps the fish there. When it runs out of bait in the net, it keeps the fish in the net.
You still have some. I got you. So the loose pogies are what initially draw them in, and then the ones in the sack keep them in the net, keep them interested in there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And how long is this net?
About 11 feet down.
It's about an 11-foot hoop net. That's good. So it's 11-foot hoop net. There goes the weights. Okay, the weights are going to sink it down. And your nets fish vertically?
Yeah, the majority of the nets that we run, especially in an area like this where you have crabs, other stuff that want to eat the net and want to eat the bait. You know, I'm going to hang them up off the bottom a little bit, try to keep that out of them.
Yeah, right.
It's not as much of a problem right now. The water's pretty cold. So
I got you.
Crabs. Whenever it gets a little warmer, they'll eat some holes in that net, you won't catch it.
Yeah. All right, so that net we just dropped down, it's gonna sit off the bottom a little bit, and it's sitting vertically in the water. So the fish approach from the bottom or the top?
They approach from the bottom. So when
From the bottom.
Obviously the net's not gonna be completely vertical. It's gonna angle out a little bit with the water moving by. And the fish will just kind of walk up into the net or, you know, ease on into it.
Right.
It works really well in this environment.
Awesome. What, baby? All right, so this, what do you call that grabber there?
Call it a drag hook or a drag, and it's made to just kind of drag along the bottom as it implies, and it runs into our rope, and it catches our rope for us. We bring it up, we get it in the block back here, and raise the weights with the motor. That way we don't have to do it, you know, by hand. You can do it by hand, but it's not really enjoyable after more than one of them.
All right, so here in South Louisiana, I'd encourage you, if you're not familiar with it, to go look at a map of South Louisiana, and you'll see the bottom third of Louisiana is all sorts of wetlands and lakes and rivers and bays. So it's just a big open system. So what Jimmy's doing here is going all around the bottom of South Louisiana to the different places where he likes to catch catfish. And those fish are able to move around freely. It's not like a river or a lake where you can just fish it out, or, you know, there's a finite amount of fish. These fish have access to the entire coast. They can move in and out, they can spawn, they can breed, they can keep putting out new ones. So it's really unique down here. I know a lot of folks on the last one were confused and thought that we were hitting like a local river or whatever, but it's very different from some of the stuff you might be used to, and I'd encourage you to check it out. Watch the net. Let's see. Oh, some big ones. We'll hook the top of the net, raise it up. Golly, that's some big ones, fella. Back up.
Got a big old hole in it, Jim. That's why you only got big fish.
Wow, look at the size of these fish. Holy smoke. Back up real good for me, Jack.
So the reason that we have only big ones in this net is because something made a hole in the net.
Another animal.
Another creature of some sort, or maybe even a big fish.
Right.
So all the little ones were able to get out, leaving only the big ones. Mr. Daniel's going to take care of that hole for us over there, and then we'll get it good and baited and everything.
Looks like you've done that before, Mr. Daniel.
A couple times.
It's really interesting. There's so many things you have to be good at to do this, right? Like, you have to understand the fish, you have to understand the net, you have to know how to set the net, know where to go, but you also have to even know how to repair the net, repair, I'm sure, parts of your boat. There's just so much that goes into this. It really is an art form.
We don't have a whole lot of days in which we don't have, you know, a hole in a net, or a net that got hit by a boat, or, you know, some kind of stuff like that. Just
right.
You always, if I believe it's going to take X amount of nets in order to get, you know, all the boxes in my boat, I'll usually put out maybe 2 or 3 extra ones, just because you run into issues like this.
Sure. So one of the things I learned last time that I thought was really interesting, if the net gets one hole in it, every fish that can fit through that hole is going to get out. Every single one of them. They all find it, they all go, and the fish who remain in the net are just simply too big to get through that one hole. So this hole here is just to get your fish out, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so you're gonna tie it back up?
Tie it back up.
If it can bounce a fly.
All right, folks, this will be net number 3. We've got about 700 pounds of catfish so far. Obviously ran into a little issue with the last net, having a couple holes in it, some of them smaller fish getting out, but 700 pounds so far. And there is a demand for these fish. They're gonna go straight to a seafood buyer from here. Jimmy and these guys are not going to sit there and clean them themselves. They're actually going to load everything up and drive it directly to a buyer who gets it off of the boat, and then they start processing it there, and from there it goes to all different types of places on the seafood market. So this is 100% wild caught catfish that folks are going to get to eat and enjoy all around the world. There's the ball. Weights. So when he gets to the weights, he stops raising it up. Put the weights in the boat. Get wet. Don't get wet. Oh, wow.
A little bit more now.
What you think, Jack? What you think, Jack? They got you. Wow. Holy cow. That's what we're looking for?
It's a little bit closer to what we're looking for. 800-900 in that one, probably.
Wow.
Kind of hard to know until you get them in a box.
Yeah. So on our last video, we had a lot of comments that you were killing trophy catfish. Have you ever heard anyone in South Louisiana talk about a trophy catfish?
Well, catfish around here are more abundant than what they are in most areas. As you can see, if I drive over a school, you can look at the graph. There are times on the graph here that there'll be, 10 or 20,000 pounds of catfish in one school down there. It's not like we're in a river where there's a bank going down one side and the other, and the catfish are trapped, and all they can do is go up and down. There's millions and millions of acres of water down here, and our net is only, in one little spot. Obviously, any industry that you're in needs restrictions, guidelines, rules that needs to be both implemented by the state and, either by local or regional offices and things like that. We have no interest in catching all the catfish in the river. If I thought I was having any major impact on this entire area, I'd leave and I'd go find fish that I believed I wasn't making that much of an impact on. Commercial people like me are, kind of the first line in being a conservationist for our industry and this species. I have no interest in catching all of them out, by the end of next week. I'm not going to have a job after that. There's been some comments made also that we take these bigger fish out and we, drop them in a tank on a truck and they go up north to the lakes, in which people are able to go up there and try and catch them out of these little ponds and stuff like that. That's not what we're doing. I never have done that. I never will. They're worth a little more money when you do that, but it's not all about the money. I believe that if you want to catch a trophy catfish, that you come to a lake or a river and you do what everyone else is doing. You don't have any more or less of a chance of getting a trophy fish or a bunch of fish than anyone else. It all depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. You gotta ice them down. They don't last too long if you don't ice them, even when they're cold.
Yeah.
It's easier on the buyers to clean the larger fish. They take less time than cleaning a bunch of little bitty ones. But overall, the orders of everything across the board. So, with that being said, generally about a 2 to a 8-pound fish is what the majority of restaurants will use. And the larger ones, sometimes they go to different buyers and they're cut into strips. It just depends on the order, really. There's actually a pretty good industry. They take the larger fish, they gut them, and they send them to a smokehouse and they dry them or smoke them, because in a lot of the European markets, there's a really big demand for dried fish. I know it's not anything that we really deal with here, in Louisiana all that much, but it is an industry that's alive and viable.
All right, folks, I do want to remind y'all that everything going on here is regulated by our state wildlife and fisheries department. There are rules to make sure that when you do catch a certain amount of the smaller ones, you do have to put them back. But as Jimmy mentioned before, he doesn't want to catch the small ones. So they kind of cater their nets and their spots and what they're doing to catch fish that are of legal size. All right, so what kind of day was that?
Well, it was about average for what we expected here, and the results here being a little better average everywhere else. But I think we averaged somewhere around maybe 480 to about 520 pounds of net, which is excellent in anybody's book. And hopefully whenever the weather gets a little more stable and it stays warm, no more cold fronts, we can do a little better. And then after they drop down to where we can't make any money, we'll be off to off to locate the next school of fish. So.
All right, folks, well, there it is. A little bit over 6,000 pounds of catfish caught today using hoop nets here on a commercial fishing boat in South Louisiana. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment, let me know what you want to know about commercial catfishing, and we'll see y'all next time.